Good last count, Corla, and I just want to commend my colleagues, Deputies Jed Nash and Duncan Smith, for proposing this important motion, and I'm proud to speak in support of it. And indeed, I also want to just pay tribute to Senator Marie Sherlock, our colleague, who's done so much on enshrining a right to flexible working into law. And also, I suppose, Minister, just to acknowledge that how fortunate we all are to be able to stand here in a peaceful Parliament debating this issue while bombs are raining down on the people of Ukraine, and just to say, as I know we all do, that we stand in solidarity with them at their darkest hour. As Deputy Howlin has said, COVID has indeed changed the nature of work for us all in Ireland, and we have seen a new way of working emerge. Pre-pandemic, many of us took for granted a form of work that emphasised presenteeism, the jacket on the back of the chair, the fact that people were expected to be in the office at all hours, and accompanying that awful daily ritual of the lengthy early morning commute for so many, a commute for which was unpaid and which was time taken out of people's family days and people's lives. So the pandemic has afforded us a great opportunity, therefore, to reset priorities, to ensure and enshrine in law a right to flexible working that will benefit all of us, men and women, individuals, families, and indeed local communities. And I do just want to emphasise the importance that a genuine right to flexible work would have for women. Speaking the morning after International Women's Day, Minister, we can, I think, all acknowledge that women in particular will stand to gain from a genuine right to flexible work. The Central Bank has noted that women's participation in the Irish labour force increased by 3.5 percentage points since the pandemic began. And while it's true to say that during the pandemic many women continued to bear the lion's share of caring responsibilities and unpaid domestic responsibilities in the home, it's also the case that the opportunity to engage in hybrid working or remote working did enable more women to participate in the workforce, and indeed enabling men to work from home also enabled men to take up more responsibilities as fathers and as carers in the workplace. So this could have great feminist benefits too, not just for women but for men. And we are all conscious, I think, of the benefit for the environment too that a genuine right to flexible work can afford us. We saw a reduction in carbon emissions during the lockdowns. We heard many of us in Dublin city constituencies hearing for the first time the clarity of bird songs on the street. While climate action of course requires a great deal more than a right to remote working, genuinely more people being enabled to work from home will mean less traffic, fewer polluting cars on our roads, and better air quality for all of us. And at a time of serious concerns about energy security, it will of course also reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. We know also, as Deputy Smith has outlined, that the growth of local communities was greatly strengthened and enabled during COVID, and quality of life improved for many people who were able to move out of city centre locations and work from home in areas where perhaps they were closer to family and closer to their original local communities. So all of these benefits are clear from a genuine right to remote work, as we are proposing in this motion and in our legislation that Marie Sherlock has been drafting. And yet in the government's bill, unfortunately, rather than a right to request remote work, this is in fact more effectively a right to refuse for employers. As Deputy Nash has said, it's a toothless and anemic piece of legislation. The right to refuse effectively undermines and countermands that right to request that it is apparently supposed to provide. The government has failed to include within the legislation, within the draft bill, a presumption that if work has been done remotely during the pandemic, then it is reasonably practical to expect it to continue to be done remotely, or at least to give employees and workers the option to work remotely and to work in a hybrid fashion. We know that the majority of people in Ireland do wish to see this right to remote work and a more hybrid model of work enshrined into law and embedded in our policy going into the future, and that it shouldn't just be seen as something that was unique to the pandemic, it should be seen as something that we can provide for permanently. Labour has had a long record on working on workers' rights. Our Working from Home Bill in 2020 would have given workers the right to statutory switch off, and that again must be taken along with the right to remote working. We have also pushed for a Donna O'Malley moment in childcare to ensure a universal public scheme of childcare, and that too must accompany a genuine package of measures to enable more women to take part in the workforce and in public life, and to enable all workers to have a better quality of life. Minister, it would benefit all of us, workers, families and communities. I urge you to accept the motion.